Today is Thursday, December the 5th, 2024. This is the 47 Daily Podcast. My name is Mark Kaye, and if you're in the Hialeah, Florida area, you can now cruise on down President Donald J. Trump Avenue near Miami. We're going to rock down to Donald J. Trump Avenue. Woo! That's all I can sing before we get copyright infringement strikes. President Donald J. Trump Avenue has now been officially named in Hialeah. It's part of the Palm Coast Highway, I believe. And what they've done is they've hung up the signs. It's a beautiful stretch of the roadway. I don't know if there's a McDonald's on it, but I would assume there probably is. And this is something that was voted on by a bipartisan committee, and a bipartisan committee voted to rename the street President Donald J. Trump Avenue there in the Miami area. In fact, we have the full story here. The Miami-Dade Board of County Commissioners passed a resolution Tuesday naming a street President Donald J. Trump Avenue. The resolution states that the city of Hialeah, Florida wants Miami-Dade County to install signs indicating the co-designation of a stretch of Palm Avenue as President Donald J. Trump Avenue on street signs and traffic poles. 4 Democratic commissioners and 5 Republican commissioners voted in favor of the resolution. So of the 10 commissioners, 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats, 9 of them voted in a bipartisan bill or a bipartisan effort to rename the street and honor the 45th and the 47th president of the United States. Commissioner Marlene Bastian was the only Democrat to oppose the resolution. She talked about some kind of ridiculousness that we're not going to get into because it doesn't matter. She's clearly in the minority on this one. So if you're in the Miami-Dade area, and this again is, look, it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's fantastic that President Trump's memory will forever live on in Miami-Dade, in Hialeah, a county, by the way, that he won, which is almost unheard of for Republicans. He's now won the popular vote. He's won the electoral vote. He won Miami-Dade County, and they awarded him with a street sign, which I think is going to be pleasing to the constituents and the voters there in Hialeah, but also it's going to draw a lot of attention. You know, there's going to be people making the trip, making the drive just to take photos in front of these signs. So again, from a commercial standpoint, from a capitalist standpoint, great job to those folks out there in Miami. President Donald Trump had a busy day yesterday with more appointments. There were a ton of appointments that came through, and I want to roll through some of the big ones. First of all, Monica Crowley, PhD. Monica Crowley, PhD, was chosen to be the Ambassador, Assistant Secretary of State, and Chief of Protocol of the United States of America. President Donald Trump on Truth wrote, Monica will be the administration representative for major U.S. hosted events, including America's 250th birthday in 2026, the FIFA World Cup in 2026, and the Olympic Games in Los Angeles in 2028. During my first term, Monica did an incredible job as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Public Affairs. For her exceptional service, she received the Alexander Hamilton Award, the highest honor bestowed by the department. Monica is a New York Times bestselling author and has been a popular anchor and political and foreign affairs analyst for the Fox News Channel and Fox Business Network, among others. A graduate of Colgate University, she holds 2 master's degrees and a doctorate in international relations from Columbia University. She will be an extraordinary representative of our country. Congratulations, Monica. And this underscores something that a lot of people don't realize, that we do have a lot of huge events coming up. The 250th birthday, the 250th anniversary of the United States of America is going to be a fantastic celebration. We know this because President Trump has already begun making plans. This is a moment to celebrate. And can you imagine if this election had gone the other way, how horrible this 250th anniversary celebration would be? It would be woke. There would be DE&I stuff all over the place. Now we're going to get a true patriotic look at the past 250 years and a patriotic celebration of what we've accomplished, where we've come from, and most importantly, where we're going in the next 250 years. And Monica Crowley is now in charge of that. Not only do we have Monica Crowley in charge of that, we've got the FIFA World Cup, the first time it's been in the United States of America. The Olympic Games coming back to Los Angeles for the first time. What was it, like, 30, 40 years ago almost. And it is a true new golden age for the United States of America. And we are so excited to have someone like Monica Crowley, who is a fantastic spokesperson for the United States of America, to be helming all of these events, not to mention all of the other fantastic state dinners and international affairs that will be happening here in the U.S. over the next 4 years. President Donald Trump, he understands the importance of putting his best foot forward. He understands the importance of putting on a show, throwing a great party, making a great first impression. He understands how these things are important, not just for personal benefit and the enjoyment of the people that are there, but also to show the country as the glimmering jewel that it is in the crown of the world. In fact, the biggest, brightest jewel. And Monica is going to do a great job with that. You may remember her from Fox News. You may remember her from Fox Business. She's been a contributor forever. It continues, by the way, the narrative of President Trump's Fox News cabinet with Pete Hegseth, who we have some information coming up here in just a minute, and a handful of others who he's plucked from the Fox News green room to put into his cabinet and his administration. It does seem like it's a little unfair. However, Newsmax is also represented by Dr. Sebastian Gorka, who also has a place of prominence inside the White House as one of President Trump's international policy advisors. Another big announcement yesterday was Kelly Loeffler. I am very pleased to nominate business leader and former U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler from the great state of Georgia to serve as administrator of the Small Business Administration. Small businesses are the backbone of our great economy. Kelly will bring her experience in business in Washington to reduce red tape and unleash opportunity for our small businesses to grow. Kelly was a tremendous fighter in the U.S. Senate during the first Trump administration, including helping to pass the first ever bill to protect women in sports. Prior to her tenure in the U.S. Senate, Kelly built a 25-year career in financial services and technology. Along with her amazing husband, Jeff, she helped build a Fortune 500 company from 100 employees to over 10,000. Kelly Loeffler, you may remember, was the senator from Georgia who was battling Raphael Warnock and also Doug Collins for the Senate position. And because Doug Collins refused to bow out, which a lot of people in the Georgia GOP were upset about, there was no clear winner with 50% of the vote. It then went to a runoff between Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, and unfortunately, Raphael Warnock got the 50% plus. He won the runoff election. A lot of people would say Doug Collins, if you just bowed out, Kelly Loeffler would have won, but that's not the way. That's not the way politics works. It is interesting that Doug Collins, who is now the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, will be working in the same administration with Kelly Loeffler. But I think hopefully that's all water under the bridge. So congratulations to Kelly Loeffler. Once again, one of the biggest pieces of news, and probably one of the largest waves to come crashing into the White House yesterday, was when President Trump announced that Peter Navarro, who was imprisoned for 4 months because he refused to respect the biased and bogus subpoenas regarding January 6th. This was a crazy story. Peter Navarro was President Trump's one of his advisors for trade in the first Trump administration. After January 6th, he was subpoenaed. He was told to release documents. He refused. They said, if you don't release these documents, you're going to go to prison and you're going to have to pay $9,500 or something like that. And he said, bring it on, Donkey Kong. And Donkey Kong was his nickname. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly the words. So they sent him to jail. They sent him to, get this, they had to send him to a minimum security jail for elderly inmates because of his advanced age. But the Democrats didn't care about that. They didn't care that he didn't do anything wrong. They didn't care that the stuff that he was asking for was none of their business and that there was actually no insurrection on January 6th, but I digress. So all of that stuff happened. And then the minute he was released, like the day Peter Navarro was released, he got on a plane. He flew to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the RNC, and he gave a rousing speech where this guy who worked for President Trump, went to prison because of what he did during President Trump's first term, was able to come back immediately, get on stage in front of thousands and thousands of excited MAGA conservatives and announce to everybody that he was endorsing President Trump for his second term. And I was there personally. It was a fantastic speech. It was an amazing reaction. And Peter Navarro now finds himself back in the White House. President Trump saying that he will be a senior counselor for trade and manufacturing. During my first term, few were more effective or tenacious than Peter in enforcing my two sacred rules. Buy American, hire American. He helped me renegotiate unfair trade deals like NAFTA and the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement and moved every one of my tariff and trade actions fast. The senior counselor position leverages Peter's broad range of White House experience while harnessing his extensive policy, analytic, and media skills. His mission will be to help successfully advance and communicate the Trump manufacturing tariff and trade agendas. So now you've got a true America First patriot, a guy who was imprisoned for his beliefs and his support of President Trump, and a guy who knows exactly what President Trump wants to do with his trade policy, who initiated the first trade policies, which were uber successful, and now will be working diligently to put forth President Trump's latest trade agreements, which is tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a friend or an enemy. I don't care. If you're doing us dirty, you're going to get tariffed. And just ask Justin Trudeau. Just ask President Sheinbaum from Mexico. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're taking advantage of us, I guess, sure, we share a border. Yeah, we're back. We're old friends. But it doesn't matter if you are taking advantage of us financially. Peter Navarro will make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. This is a huge pick. It's a great pick. And you know it's a pick that really offends and upsets the Democrats. And I have proof of that coming up here in just a minute. One of my favorite announcements was Billy Long. Congressman Billy Long, former Congressman Billy Long of Missouri. President Trump wrote on Truth Social, I am pleased to announce that former Congressman Billy Long of the great state of Missouri will be appointed to serve as the commissioner of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Billy brings 32 years of experience running his own business in real estate and as one of the premier auctioneers in the country. He then served 12 years in Congress because he, quote, felt it was important for his constituents to have a representative who was signed the front of a check. Billy Long is, or was, or I guess once you are, you always are. It's one of those things where, like, if you're in it, then you're in it for life, like the mob. But he's an auctioneer. He's a professional auctioneer. He's one of the preeminent and most famous auctioneers in the country, probably because of his stint in Congress and probably because he's one of the few people to actually auctioneer on the floor of Congress.
So one other thing, being an auctioneer in Congress, the way our debt is running out of control, they find it very handy to have Jeff Duncan and myself here in Washington. We are one of the few people that can actually keep up with the national debt. I'm $1 trillion, $2 trillion, now $3 able to buy them, $3 trillion, now $4 trillion, $5 trillion, $6 trillion, $7 able to buy them, $7 trillion, $8 trillion, now 9, 10, 11 trillion, down here, 12 trillion, 13 able to buy them. You're out of here, 13 trillion, 14 trillion, now 15. I have sold it 14 trillion. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, we also can say those numbers backwards. So when we get the spending under control here, I'll be back.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the guy who's going to be in charge of your taxes. I love it. IRS. No, and look, he's a fun guy. He's a personal guy. Everybody apparently loves him. He can entertain a crowd, as you can see. But he also knows about reduction. He also knows the importance of small businesses, and he also knows the importance of keeping tax dollars in check. And he's not going to be one of those. He's not going to be one of those people who wields his power at the IRS as a weapon against political adversaries or the American people. He truly is going to be an America First fighter for lower taxes. And I believe that those 87,000 IRS agents going to be down to 84,000, 84. Got to have 75,000. Got to cut it down. Let's get it down to 50,000. Got to cut it down to 10,000. Let's get those agents down. Let's get them down to zero. Let's get down to zero. Down here, zero new IRS agents sold for zero new IRS agents. That's one of my. I practiced that. I practiced that before I started the show. Listen, I do want to share one piece of information about Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth, this guy, I'll tell you, just the way that Pete Hegseth has been battling, just the way he's been handling this already tumultuous Senate confirmation hearing, and really the Senate confirmation hasn't even started yet. The new Senate hasn't even been sworn in, but Pete Hegseth has been battling every single day. He's been making the rounds on the media. He's been talking to Megyn Kelly. He's been answering questions about his past. His poor mother had to go on yesterday on the news and make an appearance on Fox and Friends to really, I guess, take back what she said or defend her son, which I'll be honest with you, I've never seen happen, nor do I think it should ever happen. But Pete Hegseth has been working diligently. He's been making the rounds and he has been doing his best to try and make sure that he's going to be pushed through without any problem. There are some holdouts. Joni Ernst from Iowa, the Republican from Iowa, has been openly criticized on multiple platforms, and there are campaigns against her because she is viable in 2026. Or I'm sorry, she's not liable. She's up for re-election in 2026, which means that she's in danger of losing her seat if she votes on any of these things the wrong way. And the people that handed President Trump the presidency this time around, the folks that went to bat for him, Scott Pressler in Pennsylvania, some of the internet stars and the meme makers, some of the people who have large followings and use those large followings to get the information out about, you know what, people we don't really like anymore. People we don't think should be in our Senate anymore because they don't represent us. They've already openly promised, not threatened, but promised to work to replace Joni Ernst in 2026 if she doesn't go the way that President Trump would like her to go on this Pete Hegseth nomination. Pete also is getting a little bit of friction from Lindsey Graham, who appeared with Sean Hannity yesterday and seemed to be softening a little on the Fox News host for Secretary of Defense.
I've known Pete for a long time. I served with him in Afghanistan. The people over there said nothing but great things about him. The allegations against Pete are all anonymous sources. I am not going to make any decision based on an anonymous source. If you're not willing to raise your hand under oath and make the accusation, it doesn't count. I've heard everything about all these people. None of it counts. No rumors, no innuendo.
But you were there for the Kavanaugh hearings.
I've seen this movie before.
I've seen the movie, maybe your finest moment in the U.S. Senate, because you got pissed off because the stories kept changing, more evidence came out, and it was clear to me that we weren't getting told the truth the whole time.
Well, it was a bunch of anonymous sources, and the people that did come forward, it made no sense. They were trying to destroy Judge Kavanaugh's life.
Yeah, and now you have similar people trying to destroy Pete Hegseth's life and his career. And hopefully Lindsey Graham, it seems like he's going to come down on the right side of this issue, but you never know with Lindsey Graham. You never know which way the wind is going to blow him. And he blows just, I don't know, that guy must need to, gain some weight, because when the wind blows, he just picks up and goes. I'd like them to be a little more stable and a little more grounded. Also, I'm not a huge fan of senators getting out there and saying, I don't trust anonymous sources if you're not willing to raise your hand and make these accusations, because these are the same people that voted by secret ballot to install John Thune as the head of the majority leader in the Senate. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there. Anyway, we're going to be following this Pete Hegseth battle, because it seems like it's turned the tide a tiny bit, and it seems like things may be going Pete Hegseth's way. However, you never know in Washington, D.C. And just like I always say, there's the truth, and then there's the, I guess you would say, fiction. And most of the time what you hear in the news is fiction. For example, the Kelly Loeffler pick, I heard weeks ago from radio hosts and TV hosts and supposed insiders that Kelly Loeffler was going to be Secretary of Agriculture. We now know that that is absolutely false. She's going to be in charge of the Small Business Administration. So that is one of the dangers that you have when you have all of these people who are on the radio, who are on TV, who are trying to save their jobs, who are trying to get you to believe them. They're trying to talk for 2-3 hours a day about things that they think are true, but aren't really. It's all conjecture. That's why this podcast is so important. That's why we created the 47 Daily Podcast. That's why I do my second daily podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, which brings you more news, more commentary, interviews. Yesterday, we had a fantastic sit down with Cat Turd, who has become one of the most prominent political pundits on the X platform and on the internet in general. So if you haven't yet, download, please, for your own sake and for mine, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. You're going to love it. It's about an hour or so every day. It starts at noon Eastern, 11 Central. You can watch us live, or you can listen on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you want. It's Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, and it's more information just like this, but like real information. Not the fake stuff, not the conjecture, not the blowhards, just trying to fill time and hear themselves talk and make predictions. It's stuff. This podcast, the 47 Daily, is all the news from President Trump's White House, from the White House to my mouth to your ears for the next 4 years. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic is news outside of President Trump's orbit as well, and how it affects you, and as well as great interviews and information, so that you can be as successful and as entertained and informed and enlightened as you need to be moving forward. But this Pete Hegseth thing, as it moves forward and as we follow it, there's another story brewing, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want this Pete Hegseth story, and I don't want this other stuff to draw away from the fact that we still have a very corrupt criminal president in charge of this country. And there's a story that really, it kind of has to do with President Donald Trump and what he's done so far with his cabinet picks. And it's about President Biden and his staff quietly talking about preemptive pardons for Dr. Fauci, Liz Cheney, and Adam Schiff. Now, this is troubling for a couple of reasons, because President Trump was accused of floating the idea of preemptive pardons for himself, his children, and his staff. Donald Trump never preemptively pardoned himself, his children, or his staff. Never. He knew people were going to come after him. He knew people were going to go after his children. Don Jr. and Eric Trump have been subpoenaed probably more than any two people in the entire world. And when they're subpoenaed, they show up, they answer the questions, and they leave because they know they've done nothing wrong. But Joe Biden and the Democrats, they don't work that way. They know, obviously, that there's something to hide, and they know that President Trump, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Kash Patel, who's going to be leading the FBI, they know that all of these people are going to come up with something. They're going to find something probably fairly easily that is criminal, that is corrupt, that is worthy of prosecution, and that could land them in jail. And so now word on the street is that the Biden White House is considering preemptive pardons for Dr. Fauci, Liz Cheney, and Adam Schiff. Now, we know Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff would do anything because of their hatred for President Donald Trump. And that would include, I assume, breaking the law. I mean, if you're Liz Cheney and you turn your back on your party and you stab all of your constituents in the back, and you're willing to sacrifice your career solely because you hate President Trump so much, then what wouldn't you do? Would you break the law? Maybe if you got the promise for a pardon from Joe Biden, would you campaign against President Donald Trump and go on the road with somebody who you used to call totally unqualified and a socialist? You would if maybe you thought you'd get off the hook with some kind of presidential pardon. Same thing with Adam Schiff. This guy was censured already by the House of Representatives, and the people in California saw fit to elevate him to Senate. It's another great reason why I don't live in California. Your representative gets censured at first time in forever. One of only 25 representatives in history to ever be censured by their peers. And you go, we should make him senator. We should give him even more power. I don't understand that at all. But think about Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was in charge of health, and the things that he did and said and helped to mandate in this country, the harm that he was responsible for, he'll now get a blanket pardon for. That is troubling. If anyone needs to answer for their actions, it's these individuals, but specifically Dr. Fauci. Now, he may never have to. Anyway, like I said, we've got more on that story coming up on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. So wherever you get your podcasts, if you're on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere else, go there now. Search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.